2020 was challenging in so many ways for so many people. Faith was no different. We went away for spring break, full of joy, not expecting that our entire world was about to change.
I remember coming back from spring break and knowing that we were going to have to completely switch what we do from the classroom to online learning. And none of us had a single clue what that was supposed to look like.
It seemed like time just stopped.
We had 2 days to prepare. We came in on a Monday. We had to be ready to go on a Wednesday.
I was grieving. We were sad. I was grieving for my kids. I was grieving with my kids.
In the midst of all the changes that have happened this year, I've been reminded about the story of Peter walking on water. And while he had his gaze fixed on Jesus, he had calm and peace in the midst of turbulence.
I realized anew what being a lifelong learner really meant.
We had to figure out what online teaching was supposed to look like and how we would be able to deliver our content, our subject matter to these kids in a way that would match the quality of what they were getting in the classroom.
Are our eyes focused on God? Or are they focused on our surroundings?
It put me in a new place of dependence, in a new place of needing God's equipping.
God was with us in those rooms because somehow it came together and we were ready to go by Wednesday.
Well, the transition was from an ultimate high from a baseball coach's perspective, beating arch rival Fort Worth Christian. Within 24 or 36 hours, we were jumping on tasks to take care of, to improve our school. We didn't miss a beat. Our coaching staff, many of us were on lawnmowers. We had weed whackers in our hands. We were rebuilding the locker room and completely renovating it. So I think we just went from a very competitive, high energy on the baseball field to a very competitive, high energy getting work done around the school to make improvements.
There was a flurry of communication between especially the executive committee and Dr. Smith initially. And then eventually the entire board was brought into weekly, bi-weekly, sometimes even daily phone calls. And this became a respected process where we shared communication and dialogue and perspective and guidance. Our board has a very wide diversity of experience. And so I think that we were very disciplined and remained true to our function as the board.
We prepared for the students to be out for at least a week. We did not know that everything would change on a daily basis. We were getting information from the health department and CDC recommending that we take a longer spring break, which once the governor made the decision to lock everything down, that changed everything. But we continued to collect information and communicate with families. We were hoping we would get back into school last year, but that obviously didn't happen.
Well, we were doing school at home. We still had Bible left for our youngest, Cash, who at the time was in pre-K, and I decided to do his Bible lesson at the picnic table on our porch. That particular day, the lesson was on the parable of the lost sheep, and he watched the lesson, and we talked about it, and then I asked him, "Do you understand what we just learned?" And he took some Frisbees that were stacked up on the table, and he said, "All of these are like the sheep." And then he moved one way far away and he said, "That one is the lost one." And then he took another one off the pile and he took it to the lost one. He said, "This one is Jesus." And then he brought both of them back. And then it just came to me. I did not foresee this conversation happening, but I said, "Do you think that you're a Christian?" And he replied quickly, "Yes." And I said, "Well, actually you're not, because you have not actually prayed the prayer of salvation and asked the Lord to come into your heart and made him your Lord and Savior. But that's okay, because there's a right time for everybody, and we will just keep praying about it, and when it's your time, it's your time." And he quickly responded with, what did he say?
He said, "This is my time." Well, of course, I was inside working, but in the midst of all the challenges that COVID has brought, being home at the time during the fourth quarter, Soup was a huge blessing in this case, because I was able to go outside, and all the way through this, he was adamant that he was ready He was ready to pray, and so that's what we did.
It was such a powerful moment because obviously we have prayed for this his entire life. I think the biggest thing is, we're doing our part at home the best that we know how, to sow seeds, to pray, to make God the center of our home. But the fact that he is going to school, and at that particular time, he wasn't going to school, but the school was giving us the opportunity every day to bring the Bible and the Lord into our home.
So over the summer, we were constantly studying, researching, communicating with the American Academy of Pediatrics, the health department, the governor's office, the CDC, planning for the school year. We wanted to be in person, but we wanted to keep everyone as safe as possible.
There wasn't a crisis management manual that had the pandemic in it.
It took some creative thinking and problem solving to get artwork ready, to get supplies ready, to put out. It's communicating with parents, driving through, picking up stuff, answering kids' questions remotely, and the uncertainty of, the things that were going to be happening in the future, are they still happening? And then not knowing the answer to that.
So what we saw towards the end of last spring was so much unknown. Would they be teaching at home again, or would they be able to be in the building? So once we were able to make a decision and give our families a firm direction, then families were so excited and ready to commit and ready to stay. What we also saw was an influx of new families. We just saw that God uses all things, even COVID and all the uncertainty and tragedy that came through that. It blessed us.
We knew right away when the pandemic hit that we have a culture worth preserving here at Faith. We are one heart, we are one family, and we knew that we had to find a way to maintain that, to find a way to figure it out, because that's something that we did not want to lose. Our PTF threw the biggest celebration for Teacher Appreciation Week that they could think of. It was incredible. They came through for our faculty and staff and just blessed them in ways that we would never have been able to imagine on campus. The first day of school was different. Parents weren't allowed in the building. That's a huge part of our culture and a huge part of our being able to welcome families onto campus. We tried to take a little bit of that tradition and keep it with taking pictures of every elementary student and their teacher and send it home, just so that wouldn't have to be a memory book tradition that was lost.
I remember Faith Gives and all of the lessons that we brought home on generosity and community and stewardship, and then the Hardee's boxes. And we got to bring food to our neighbors. And because of COVID, we realized that our kids actually knew who our community was. And so it was a really cool moment where the lessons became practical and real.
I was laying in bed one night, and I remember Dr. Smith that morning saying, "We're all in this together." And it dawned on me, we're in a high school, we could maybe do a live type of production with Fox, like Fox did and NBC did, where the cameras follow around, and we'll do High School Musical again. So we called in some people that I know, and they decided they would bring in their film crew and give us all their cameras and the things that we would need. And we had 277 students and adults in our school get involved in this production. And people in California and New York and even around the world got to see our Disney's High School Musical.
Having to fill a major spot, but being quarantined, all of us being at home. So Zoom became our best friend and best ally. And so the good thing that came out of it was we had more eyes on it, more people involved in it, and made some great hires as a result of it. Quite challenging, quite time consuming, but all worth it because we know that great hires are the backbone of Faith.
We really just wanted to get to compete.
We didn't know from one moment to the next. We got our kids to think about being calm during chaos.
So I was really excited when Faith decided to let us come back and do our summer camp programs. We got to use the cottage. We went in and with our protocols, we taped out 6x12 squares using painter's tape on the floor. And it just felt good to be starting to get back to what we think is normal.
This season has been kind of a launching pad for the next season of innovation for Grapevine Faith Creative Arts.
Stop, pray, ask God what He's doing, and draw near to my family.
Ignite my passion to get to know my neighbors and to start a neighborhood Bible study.
More thoughtful and patient.
Value people's health because it can be taken away any moment.
More aware of the world around me.
Thankful for the simple things, like playing games with my teenager.
Stronger.
Truly see how much people need the Jesus that I know.
Patient.
Understand that there's more than one way to do life.